So I think there's a common perception these days that omni-channel isn't all that it cracked up to be, and often it doesn't actually deliver either for customer or for the brand in terms of the way that it was originally positioned and sold. I know you've got some fairly strong views on that, Andrew, and you've written very eloquently on it. So tell us a little bit from your perspective, because you do a lot of work in this space, examples you've got, and also why you think this is the case.
So I looked at huge sample of calls from 220 big enterprise firms, 8 billion phone calls. So, a pretty decent size data set. And, firms have made, big enterprise firms, tens of millions of pounds or dollars invested in omni-channel, live chat, conversational AI, self-service, deflection strategies. But when you look at the data, inbound telephony volumes to the service center have not dropped. At best, maybe 5% of this 8 billion calls have plateaued. Everyone else is going up. So 95% of all of the big enterprise firms that we looked at in this huge data set, call volumes aren't dropping. So you've invested in conversational AI, chatbots. You've probably hired 300 to 500 additional agents to handle the influx of, what you call it, failover from your conversational AI text chatbot to a human. But your inbound telephony still isn't going down. So there's something.
What's the time period we're looking at there, Andrew?
So this is it's over a 3-year period. So this is kind of, some companies went up understandably, because particularly those who do home shopping and home delivery, some of the grocery firms, they doubled. One of the biggest UK retailers doubled their revenue in that period. So understandably, call volume, increased 5-6 million calls per year, but it's over a 3-year period.
So this is recent history.
Oh God, it's brand new. I mean, it's brand new data, so it's absolutely accurate.
Yeah,
absolutely relevant. And I think, conversational AI, especially, I would say, is failing. Firms bolted on a chatbot without any real consideration of the let's call it contact orchestration, if you may. So a good example would be some work I did with a tier 1 UK bank. So it's one of the 9 biggest UK banks. And when you dive down into the minutiae, which is kind of a place I quite like living, so I looked at 10,000 transcripts. This was from chatbot, which failed, which then went to a live human agent. So 10,000, pretty decent sized sample. And this was a mixture between detractors and promoters. So, net promoter score. And I didn't want, technically, if you're a score of 5, you're a detractor, but I didn't want them. I wanted the 0s, the 1s, and the 2s, because it's a bit more juicy, it's a bit more meaty. So the absolute extreme ends of dissatisfaction and satisfaction. It was NPS, but it's, it's synonymous, really. And when you look at the detractors, the chatbot failed. Let's say, I want to report fraud, or, it's quite interesting, I've been scammed. People aren't saying I've been hoodwinked, but they're saying these terms. And unless you write, I have been defrauded, it doesn't recognize it. So, I mean, some of these systems, you'd think they would do a far better job, at least on intent recognition.
So their ability to deal with the subtleties of language and the fact that people don't robotically always talk about their problem in exactly the same way, you are saying that actually natural language understanding is pretty poor in those systems.
Yeah, and it's got better, but it's, I don't want to talk about large language models and generative AI really at this point, but there's quite a famous example, and I know we're not going to mention brands, but a very big global financial company. It's a bit of an online meme, and the customer goes, "Hey, I've been scammed." The chatbot goes, "Brilliant!" So this is plastered all. If you type in "I've been scammed" in inverted commas, you'll find this particular example, I'm sure. But when you look at the detractors specifically, and I don't want to really talk about customer journeys, but customers are engaging with a chatbot, then it goes to a human,
Mm.
and this is the absolute failure. So it's not an artificial intelligence failure, it's a human intelligence failure. 35.5%, so far more than a third of these conversations which end up as detractors, that intent could never ever be resolved through the live chat channel. So it's fundamentally broken. So fraud, cash machine, ATM disputes. I want to dispute a transaction. UK, we have direct debit. So you have a direct debit indemnity. So where you want to get your money back because the people took too much. So you have all of these intents, and the chatbot is allowing that to escalate to a human rather than saying, hey, I know you want to talk about fraud. However, because of the way the bank operates, we can't resolve fraud through text alone. We have to call you. Now, we know text is convenient. So if you're not free now, click here and we'll schedule a call back, or click here and we'll call you within 10 seconds. This is very hypothetical. That's what should happen.
Yeah.
What happens is it escalates to a human. The human then goes, yeah, I'm so sorry. The only thing I can suggest is you have to call this number.
Hmm.
I'm through to you. Can't you fix it? No, I'm very, very sorry. And what's quite curious is these companies, there's a huge amount of immature AI. So you have empathy dashboards. So you've got to hit 100% empathy. And a lot of these, let's call it trite.
Yeah.
We could put an S there, but let's be polite. Trite measurement systems, they will listen for the single utterance, or in this case you're typing it, word sorry, and go bing, empathy delivered. So the agent has done her job, or his or her job, and it's really fascinating because when you look at the language, it's there. Some people collect stamps. I think I collect utterances of detractor conversations. I've got this huge list, but whether it's, and I'm going a bit off track, but hopefully it's interesting, whether it's India, Hungary, very far north, so in Scotland, any call center, it's the only thing I can suggest, the only thing we could do. So
that's a universal language, is it?
It is. In Hungary, in India, Bangalore, it's crazy. And
so let's just go back on that. And
sorry, Martin, yes.
No, that's good. So what we're saying here is the design and the assumptions behind that design is a lack of any thought around of the appropriateness of the channel to that customer's particular need, and given various policies, absolutely sensible that you can't treat that problem through that particular modality, it's never going to go anywhere. But because that's deployed live, you've then got basically professional apologizers halfway across a journey that says, I'm sorry, I'm about to flip you back into actually a completely closed feedback loop, which will make you insane by the end of it with frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. So that this language, I am powerless to, there's a trite apology, professional apologizers, followed by I am powerless to resolve. If you wanted to start looking at what really drives dissatisfaction, because if you start looking at instances of where it's operational failure really, but I'm just unable to resolve this for you. Powerless to resolve is, along with lack of precision on timescales or agent uncertainty, they're the two single biggest contributors to customer dissatisfaction. And people
agent uncertainty, as in the sense of I don't know the answer, I haven't been empowered, I don't have the knowledge for.
Interestingly, it's both, and there's a continuum of uncertainty to I haven't got the foggiest at the extreme end. I have no clue. So let's say, and often, particularly, I know we're going off track again, but you might have to keep shepherding me back on course, Martin. But if you look at any organization which has an in-field service component, so it could be home shopping delivery, parcel delivery. They've kind of almost nailed it, actually. Um, if you've got water leaks, utilities, especially broadband installation. I'm standing here. I'm surrounded by human excrement. This is not the actual words the customer use, but I'm surrounded by human excrement. When is your engineer turning up? Oh, he'll be there as soon as he can. And the guy went, how soon is soon? Oh, I couldn't possibly tell you. It's like, well, is it 5 minutes? Oh, it won't be that soon. Is it 5 hours? Oh, sooner than that, right? So agent uncertainty in every utility and water company where I've done conversation science, kind of real detailed analytics, the single biggest contributor